the 25th day of Mar Heshvan, corresponding to the 9th day of November 2023. Today's special class and breakfast, graciously sponsored by Mr. Clemente Rahamim Beda Hamuya Kohen, Le'ilui Nishmat, his beloved mother, Sarah Bat Mini, Aliyah Shalom. Yehi Ratzon, to the words of Torah and the Berachot, her neshama have an aliyah in Gan Eden. Amen. Additionally, as we have been doing since Isru Hag, we're dedicating today's class for the safe return of the hostages, which are, as of now, in the hands of our enemy, for the success and protection of our Hayalim, for the Refuah Shelema of the many Holim and wounded in Eretz Israel, and obviously Le'ilui Nishmat, the Kedoshim that returned their soul on a timely manner, Al Kiddush Hashem. Today, we'd like to welcome, I believe, for the first time to the Edmond Safra Synagogue, Rabbi Daniel Glatstein. Even though he doesn't know me from a long time, I know the Rabbi more than he knows that I know him. I follow the Rabbi often through his Sefarim, through many of his Shiurim, and through many of his write-ups. The Rabbi comes, I believe, from Cedarhurst, New York, Rabbi, yes, which is building an empire of Torah, a headquarters at all levels, I believe. And we wish the great Rabbi to have Berachan Aslacha in spreading the Torah to the four corners of the world. Amen. We say Tizkela Mitzvot to shul.com and to the one and only our dear friend Jonathan Dagmi for arranging the visit of the Rabbi not only to our Kehillah today, but to the other Kehillot that Rabbi Glatstein had been visiting. He's very popular in the Torah Anytime platform. You can also find his Sefarim in artscroll.com. Very good. And RabbiDG.com. I'm a free program, Rabbi. You tell me what you need, we'll deliver.
Nothing's free in life.
Beautiful. And Be'ezat Hashem, this class should serve as a hizuk. I'm going to give the mic to the Rabbi, which for those who know me already through itorah.com or our synagogue, it doesn't happen very often. You need to know, Rabbi, the fact that Baruch Hashem, you're talking to us today, that means that B'siyata D'Shmaya, you are good. So Hashem should bless you to be able to spread the words of Torah, especially in these very, very critical times for all of Am Israel. And as we have been saying for a while, that the issue is not limited only in Eretz Israel, but regretfully, the challenges of Eretz Israel are spreading to the four corners of the world. So I'm going to do something that I usually don't do at this hour. Stay quiet and listen to you. I'm going to give you over the mic, Hakam, so the Kahal here can hear you as well. Feel free to use it. Today, in your honor, you have at least 35 to 45 minutes.
Okay.
We'll see. So far, we have a magnificent breakfast.
Yeah. Am I wearing it correctly?
Mr. Beida, Le'ilui Nishmat, his mother, Sarah Bat Mini.
Can I give out sheets? Or not?
You can give me.
Okay.
You can give to some. I'll give them up.
Okay.
Anybody that would like to follow some of the sources of the Rabbi, feel free to take.
Good morning, everyone. Bruchim Habayim. It's a great honor, a great distinction to be in this illustrious Beit HaKnesset, the Safra Synagogue, Bershut, Harav Hagoyin, Rav Galmidi, Shlita, Yedidi. It's such an honor and pleasure to be in the presence of your illustrious Rav. And may this chut of today's learning be a chut for all of Am Yisrael, for your Kehillah, for your Rav, that he should have many happy and healthy, gesund years here in the Kehillah, leading us higher and higher, l'Torah, l'avodah, l'ma'asim tovim, ad bi'at goel tzedek, l'mher v'yameinu, amen. Amen. Also want to thank my dear friend, Rav Jonathan Dagmi, for giving me the opportunity to come here to South Florida under the venue, under the banner of shul.com, and we're mevarich Rabbi Yonatan. He should continue to have siyata d'shmaya, lahagdil Torah u'lahadir.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I want to tell you a personal story, something that is very close to my family, that not many people know about. My grandfather, my revered grandfather, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, is a survivor of the Holocaust. He passed away a few years ago at 106 years old. He had smicha already before the war broke out. He was close to Gedolei Yisrael. Even before World War II, he knew Rav Menachem Zemba. Anybody who knows, Rav Menachem Zemba was the prominent, preeminent Gadol b'Torah in Poland before World War II. My grandfather was in Auschwitz. And in Auschwitz, he saw Eichmann. Yamach Shemo v'Zichro. And Eichmann invited a special guest to Auschwitz to rejoice over the brutality that they were inflicting on the Jewish people. Who is this special guest? A special guest from Jerusalem. The Mufti, the Grand Mufti from Jerusalem. And my grandfather remembered, and he wrote this in his personal memoirs, that Eichmann and the Mufti sat arm in arm like two lovers. And they would march Jews in front of them. And they would hit the Jew in a way that the Jew would not be able to have children again. And they would laugh, and my grandfather says, this is what happens when Eisav and Yishmael come together. When Eisav and Yishmael come together, it brings destruction to the world. If you want to know, what would the world look like if the Western world and Yishmael ever got together? Auschwitz, that's what it would look like. And with this picture in mind, I want to bring to your attention a very interesting pasuk at the end of next week's parasha. Already in the beginning, Yaakov and Eisav did not get along, and Eisav hated Yaakov. And Yaakov got the birthright, and Yaakov stole the blessing. And when Eisav realized that Yaakov duped him, the pasuk says, "Vayistom Eisav liYaakov, Vayomer Yikravu Yemei Evel Avi." Eisav said, when will the mourning for my father come already? And then when my father dies, I'm going to kill Yaakov. By the way, some of the Mefarshim say, why when my father dies will I kill Yaakov? Because so long as Yaakov is learning Torah, we're invincible. But when my father dies, Yaakov will be be'avelut. And an Avel can't learn Torah. And then I'll get him. And then I'll get him. So people always want to know, that's the first important limud. People want to know, what should we do to defend the Jewish people? Should we send special gloves to the soldiers? Yeah, you should. Should we send money to help the fighting in Israel? Yeah, of course. Whatever you could do to help the Chayalim, you should do. But what's the Ikar? The Ikar is Talmud Torah. That is the main defense of the Jewish people. That's the main defense. Torah is the main defense. So long as we're learning Torah, we're protected. Okay. It says that Eisav hated Yaakov. So we would expect, okay, Eisav hates Yaakov. What's Eisav going to do? Is he going to buy ammunition? Is he going to buy a rifle? Is he going to buy a knife? Is he going to buy a sword? And the Torah basically doesn't say what he does. Comes Vilna Gaon. You ready for this nugget? Comes the Vilna Gaon. He wrote a commentary on a Kabbalistic work called Safra Ditzniusa. Vilna Gaon says, you know what Eisav did because he hated Yaakov? Vayelech Eisav el Yishmael. He went to Yishmael. Vayikach es Machalat bat Yishmael. He took Machalat, the daughter of Yishmael. Ben Avraham. Lo Isha, Eisav married the daughter of Yishmael. Where, Houston, we got a problem. You hear the Vilna Gaon? Eisav hated Yaakov. So how is he going to destroy him? He's going to marry Yishmael's daughter. And like we mentioned, when Eisav and Yishmael get together, you know what the world looks like. So I want to bring to your attention, what would you say in the history of the Jewish people, other than the Holocaust, What moment in time was probably the most dangerous moment in the history of the Jewish people? Of all the atrocities that loomed over the head of the Jewish people, what do you think was the most dangerous moment in the history of the Jewish people? Where there was a gezerah to annihilate, chas v'shalom, Klal Yisrael. Purim, exactly. Very good. You have such a beautiful keilah. They know already. Purim, major leagues. Purim. Purim was the only time in our history there was a gezerah lehashmid, laharog, ule'abed. So let's study that, because who were the players in the times of Purim? So we have Haman. Haman is Eisav. But then we have Yishmael. We have Achashverosh. Who's Achashverosh? What nation is he from? Persia. Paras. What's Paras? Is it such a dangerous combination, Paras and Eisav? We learned from Vilna Gaon that there's a great danger when Eisav and Yishmael get together. But now in the times of Purim, we have Eisav and Paras. So let's study this. You know, there's a big question. If you study Medrash Rabbah on Sefer Bereshit, the Medrash teaches us that historically the Jewish people have undergone 4 galusim, 4 exiles. What are they? Babylon, Paras Umadai, Persia and Media. By the way, the biggest galus is the Media. That's no question. The biggest galus is the Media. Don't believe a word they say. Whatever, if you want to know the emet, then listen to what they say in the news, and the emet is the exact opposite. On any issue, on any point of view, any social issue that exists, if you want to know what the Torah says, you don't even have to look in the Torah. Look what the media says, and you know the Torah is mamish v'nahapochu. So Persia Media is the second galut. The third galut, Yavan. The fourth galut, the Medrash says countless times, Galut Edom. Galut Edom. Where does the Medrash say this? Practically, every time the number 4 appears in Sefer Bereshit, whether it's V'ha'aretz hosa tohu vavohu v'choshech al pnei tahom, 4 galusim. The 4 rivers in Gan Eden, the 4 galusim. Avram Avinu at Brit Ben Habetarim, it says v'hinei ema v'chashecha gedola nofel esalav, 4 languages, the 4 galusim. Who are they? Babylon, Persia, Greece, Edom, Rome. There's a big question. It seems like the Midrash did not mention a very powerful, important galut that we're suffering from today, and we've suffered from for a very long time. Galut Yishmael. Why does the Medrash not refer to Galut Yishmael? Now, for the sake of completion, for the sake of your Yediat HaTorah, there is an opinion, the opinion of Ibn Ezra, is that the 4 exiles are Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome is number 3, number 4 is Yishmael. But Ramban rejects Ibn Ezra, because Ramban says the Midrash, the Torah Shabbal Peh, never talks about Yishmael. Therefore, Yishmael does not make the official list. But the question we have to ask ourselves is, why does Yishmael not make the official list? Why is he not on the list? What, they haven't caused enough trouble? They haven't brought enough tragedy? They didn't take enough hostages? Why is Yishmael not on the list? This is a question that is addressed by many commentaries, most notably the Maharal of Prague. Okay? I'm going to share with you this morning the 2 answers of the Maharal. Why is Yishmael not on the list? The first answer of the Maharal, and if you have your sheets, we're going to take a look at number 8. The Maharal says we have to understand what the concept of a galut is. What's a galut? What's a malchut? There's something called malchut shamayim, the domain, the sovereignty of God. Okay, God has a throne in shamayim, kisei hakavod. But do we recognize God as melech ha'olam? We know He's the borei. We know He's the manig. Do we recognize He's the melech? The way to recognize God's malchut, we need malchut beit David. The malchut beit David is the manifestation of God's malchut in this world. That is why, what shevet does David come from? Yehuda. Does anybody know what are the four legs of God's throne? What are they made out of? Mahogany, gold, silver. Chazal tell us, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Who's the fourth leg? The David, hu regel revi. David's the fourth leg. That means without David, the throne has no stability. When Yehuda is born, says the Shlach HaKadosh, Vata'amod miledet, Amidah. God's throne has stability. David HaMelech allows God's malchut to be recognized in this world. Without David, v'David hu regel revi. That's why, by the way, the word Yehuda is a very special word. Yehuda is Yud Kei Vav Kei, and the Daled, that's the fourth regel of God's throne. Come the Babylonians, and they destroy the temple, and they put an end to Malchut Beit David, and they imprison the continuity of the Malchut Beit David. They take Tzidkiyahu and they blind him. That's the end of the Malchut. Now Malchut Shamayim has been stolen. It's in the hands of Bavel. And then when the Persians destroyed the temple, they took the Malchut from Babylon. And then when the Greeks destroyed Persia, they took the Malchut. And now Rome has it. And who's Rome today?
Zero.
The Western world. Judeo-Christian values, the Western world. USA is Malchut Edom. So Malchut Shamayim is in the hands of Edom. Then Mashiach will come, we get it back. Says Maharal, but Yishmael never took our Malchut. Yishmael has an independent source of koach. What's the source of Yishmael's koach? Avraham Avinu, when God says, you're going to have a son finally. Avraham Avinu says, I already have a son. Lu Yishmael yichyeh lefanecha. If only Yishmael would live before you. Says Maharal of Prague, the power of Abraham's tefillah infused Yishmael with koach until the end of days. In fact, Zohar HaKadosh says, we're angry at Avraham. We're upset with him. Avinu, lo avinu ata, we say, you're not our father. We say to Abraham, why do you pray for that, Pera Adam? Why would you pray for that? The words Pera Adam, it's a very unusual term. Rabbi Shul Leib Diskin points out, in Lashon Kodesh, you always have the noun and then the adjective. Adam gadol, bayit katan. Adam katan. You say the noun and then you say the adjective. And with Yishmael, we should say Adam, the man. What kind of man? Pere, wild. But no, we don't say, we say Pere, Adam. Because the noun of Yishmael, he's Pere, he's wild. The adjective is Adam. That's the kind of Pere he is. If you want to know the essence of Yishmael. The power of Yishmael comes from the tefillah of Avraham Avinu. He has no malchut. Therefore, he doesn't make the official who's who list of the four galusim. That's the first answer of the Maharal. But the Maharal says, let me share with you the definitive answer. The definitive answer of why Yishmael is not one of the four exiles is he is one of the four exiles. Which one? Says the Maharal, he's the second exile. He's Persia. Paras and Yishmael are synonymous. Why is that? Says the Maharal, they're not the same ethnicity, they're not the same culture, they're not related to each other. Says the Maharal, the definition of these four categories are not ethnicities, they're not cultures, they're not beliefs, they're personality traits. And Yishmael has the same personality traits as Paras. What are the personality traits of Paras? The Gemara tells us the Persians made many wars. They conquered many cities. That's the nature of Yishmael. Therefore, Yishmael is Paras. It's the same thing as Paras. Ooh. Now the Shamayim open up. Because we learned from the Vilna Gaon that if Eisav and Yishmael ever got together, they'll destroy the world. And we gave so far one example of Eisav and Yishmael coming together in Auschwitz. But now we have another example. Haman, Eisav, Achashverosh. What do you mean Achashverosh? He is Paras. No, Paras and Yishmael are the same. That was the second time in history that Yishmael and Eisav come together. Achashverosh and Haman. If you ever hear that Achashverosh and Haman come to the room together and they shake hands, watch out. No, that's a big bad news. Bad news. Now this gives us insight, and this every Jew has to be familiar with this right now, into two very important Gemaras and Shas. You know, people want to know what's going to happen at the end of days. I spoke to this rabbi. Don't speak to any rabbi. Look in the Talmud. Look in the Gemara. You need to know what the sources say. People say, I once heard. Don't hear anything. You need to learn the sources. There are two Gemaras, black and white, that tell us what the deal is going to be the end of days. The first Gemara, you can look on your sheet. Number 6, the Gemara in Avodah Zarah. The Gemara in Avodah Zarah tells us that at the end of days, God's going to take out the Sefer Torah. And He's going to say, any nation who was involved with this, who supported this, come, we're going to give you reward. Oh, all the nations say, yeah, we supported the Jews, we loved the Jews, we gave them money, we built yeshivot, we gave money to B'nai Torah. All the nations are going to come. And God's going to say, come on, order please. Don't all come bi'erbuviyah, don't come in a mix-up. I need each nation by itself. Says the Gemara, which nation will come first? Malchut Rome. Ask the Gemara, why Rome first? Says the Gemara, because it's the most chashuv. So Rome's going to come and say, we made stores, we made bathhouses, we made beautiful infrastructure. Why do you think we made a store, a food store? So that Jews could buy food, they could buy bagels and learn Torah. And why did we make other food stores? So Jews could buy ochel and support themselves and learn Torah. And God's going to say, listen carefully, God's not going to say you're wrong. That's why you did it. The only reason you did it, the only reason I allowed you to do it is for Torah. But you're a fool because that wasn't your kavanah. So you don't get any reward. The Gemara then says, Rome walks out dejected. The Pachei HaNefesh, they walk out dejected. Next into the room, Taras, Persia. And Persia's going to say, we made many wars. We conquered many cities. And we did it all so that the Jewish people should learn Torah. And God's going to say, you fools, that wasn't your kavanah. And they're going to walk out dejected. Listen carefully, ask the Gemara, why specifically Rome and Persia? Says the Gemara, because they are the most chashuv. Ask the Gemara, why are they the most chashuv? Because these will be the only power standing until the end of days. Says the Gemara, there will only be two nations standing in the end of days. Romi and Paras. Now let's think about that. Romi, is Rome still around? Rome is long gone. You want to see something about Rome? You go to the British Museum, and they found over there in the British Museum that 2,000 years ago a Roman drank hot chocolate from a mug. They didn't find the mug, they found the handle. That's the Roman Empire today. That's all that's left from the Roman Empire. So what does the Gemara mean that Rome will last until Mashiach comes? The answer is the spiritual heir of Rome is the Western world, United States of America, and the countries that espouse Western values. That's Roimi. But what about Persia? What does the Gemara mean? The other nation standing will be Persia. Iran? Iran today is unconnected, not ethnically, not genetically, to the ancient Persian Empire. So what does the Gemara mean that Paras will last until Mashiach comes? According to Maral of Prague, it's black and white. Who is Paras, says Maral? Yishmael. So the Gemara is telling us that before Mashiach comes, there will only be two powers in the world. USA, the Western world, and Yishmael. And that's exactly what we see today. So now that we've established that the Gemara already told us 1,500 years ago, who will be the superpowers in the end of days? Let's ask ourselves a simple question. Who stands last? That's what we're all, we're basically waiting back, and we're waiting to see who stands last. Now, one thing I have to tell you is, we have in our mind, who stands last? The one that drops the big first. No. If you think about the Roman Empire and how the Roman Empire crumbled, people say, probably an invading army came and conquered the Roman Empire, with thousands of troops. And no, that's not what happened. It was political disillusionment. It crumbled from within. It disintegrated. Nobody conquered the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire just collapsed by the seams. That's something that is a very realistic contention that we have to think about. There's nothing new under the sun. We were watching the news. What's new? There's nothing new. Nothing new. Ein kol chadash tachat hashemesh. Whatever happened, it's happened many times before. So when we say who will be the last power standing, even though, in our science fiction minds, we think, okay, who's going to attack who? The question really probably is, which value system will be the last value system that remains, and then Mashiach will come and say, Torah tziva lanu Moshe, Morasha, Kilat Yaakov. That's what it means, will be Or Lagoyim. But which value system, now, does the Western world have values today? And that's the debate going on in this country right now. What values remain in Romi? Is there a value system of Romi today? And there's a big split today. And actually, in a way, it's sort of comforting, because the Gemara discusses, if you look in Masechta Yuma, Daf Yud Amud Aleph, there's a Beit HaKnesset here. Okay, you see, the thing is, I'm a visiting rabbi, right? So I could say whatever I want, right? And if you don't like me, I won't come back. We'll still be friends. We could send each other messages, but I want to tell you something very important. It's okay? You'll find out. You'll let me know if it's okay after I say it. First, let me say it. I want to tell you something, because we're friends over here, okay? Does anybody know, what is the defense system of the Jewish people? The defense, the protection, the fortress. Beit HaKnesset. Beit HaKnesset. Ani choma v'shadai kamigdalos. I am a wall. My protection is like a fortress. Elu batei knesiot ubatei midrashot. That's our defense system. I want to tell you something. We have to be very careful. There's no infiltration in the fortress. You know what I mean by that? I don't know about you. I sometimes look at my phone more than I need to. Because, you have it. Maybe I got a message, and so I try to make times that my phone is away. One of those times needs to be Beit HaKnesset. Right now the Jewish people are be'et tzara. We need protection more than ever in our history. Every sensitive, thoughtful Jew has to say, I do not bring my phone into Beit HaKnesset. It's a must. It's a must. Do we believe prayer works, or do we not believe prayer works? We believe it works. Do we believe when we pray it should be with all of our heart, or is it okay if we do it, let's say, 23%? We have to at least try to do it 100%. We have to try. Nobody is a malach. We have to try. The only way you can make a valiant effort to try to pray with all your heart is if you leave the phone in your car in a lot outside. Because don't tell me it's on vibrate. Don't tell me it's on vibrate. I don't think anyone here, if I would ask you, could you pray properly with your phone on vibrate? Nobody would have the audacity to say, yeah, I could do it. And I'm going to tell you a bigger chidush. If your phone is on silent, you also can't pray properly, because you're having imaginary sensations that it's vibrating, even though it's on silent. Even on Shabbat, I see a guy going like this. He doesn't even have his phone on him. I'm telling you, you want to bring defense to the Jewish people? You want to give koach to the Jewish people? You want to protect your brothers and sisters? I saw a guy looking at his phone in the middle of davening. Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible what's happening in Eretz Yisrael. Well, put away the phone, and maybe we'll be protected. Okay, this is a humble thought. You don't have to, I'm not your rabbi.
We have lockers.
You have lockers?
Yeah.
God should bless you. Mishabech Avotenu Avram Yitzchak Yaakov. Hu yivarech et kol hakahal hakadosh hazeh U'v'schar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yamali Rachamim Al Kol Yisrael. Back to the ranch. Back to the ranch. Who stands last? Eisav or Yishmael? Eisav or Yishmael? Who stands last? So I got very nervous when I saw this Gemara, because at first I thought that means, who's going to destroy who? But now I'm thinking probably which value system, which approach to life will stand last. And you can make the case. The answer has already been determined. The answer has already been determined. Is there a value system anymore in Romi? What do they stand for? What does the Western world stand for? What is Judeo-Christian values today? Is it monotheism? Is it human value? Identity? There are no values. Aseret HaDibrot that this country was based on. The founding fathers wanted to make the official language of the United States of America Lashon HaKodesh. The value system of this country, Judeo-Christian ethics, do they exist today? Are they being taught in the Ivy League schools today by college professors? I don't think so. But paras, their values, whether you like them or not, as extreme as they are, they still stand. So that's something to really think about, the Gemara in Masechta Yuma. And I'll tell you, I've given this class before, and I never really realized until standing here with this Kahal Kadosh, the Gemara in Masechet Yuma says there will only be two nations standing in the end of days, Romi and Paras. Which nation will stand last? The Gemara brings the opinion of Rebbe, Rome will fall to Persia. The Gemara brings the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, Rome will fall to Persia. And I'm shaking in my boots, Rome will fall to Persia. I don't live in Syria. I don't live in Yemen. I live in New York. Rome will fall to Persia. USA will fall to... But now we have some kind of understanding of this. What will be the last value system standing? And then the Gemara brings another opinion. Rabba Babar Chana Amar Rabbi Yochanan. The Gemara says, Rav holds Persia will fall to Rome, meaning United States value system. Maybe the House of Representatives will, conglomerate. They'll push their agenda. There'll be more of a conservative agenda. These are what the Gemara is grappling with. Ultimately, who defeats who? I want to share with you Chidush of Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Reb Chaim Kanievsky, one of the great tzaddikim of the last generation. Reb Chaim, in all Jewish homes, on Leil Seder, how do we end the Seder? We say a piyut. What piyut do we say? By Ashkenazim, we say piyut Chad Gadya. Familiar with it?
Yes.
Chad Gadya. How do they sing it?
Chad Gadya.
What's the tune? We have a chazan here?
Yeah, chazan, he played the sikkim.
He davened early. He knew to stay away. Okay. What's the story of Chad Gadya? It sounds like a nursery rhyme, right? Chad Gadya. You have a father who bought a goat. What happened? The cat ate the goat, and the dog ate the cat, and the stick hit the dog, and the fire burnt the stick, and the water put out the fire, and the ox came and drank the water, and the shochet came and shechted it, and then the malach hamavas came and killed the shochet, and then God comes, and let's call it a night. A gute Nacht, Schlaf gesund, Laila Tov. Right? That's the end of the Seder. L'shana haba, B'Yerushalayim. Ben Ish Chai writes, if anybody mocks Chad Gadya, they should be put in Cherem because it's Kodesh Kadashim. But exactly, what is the message of the Chad Gadya? What is this all about? We have 8 main characters in the Chad Gadya. We have the cat, and the dog, and the stick, and the fire, and the water, and the bull, and the shochet, and the malach hamavas. We started this year by talking about that we have 4 galutim, we have 4 exiles: Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome. However, Medrash Shochar Tov and Rashi and Zechariah tells us each galut was a dual galut, is a 2-parted galut. Bavel and Kazdi, Babylon and the Chaldeans. Paras, Madai. Greece, Macedonia, Mokdan. Eisav and Yishmael. In fact, the Arizal even writes that when Daniel saw in his vision a being, the head is Bavel, the two arms, Paras and Madai, the body is Greece, the two legs, Eisav and Yishmael, and the legs are the longest because these are the longest galusim, the longest exiles. Says Reb Chaim Kanievsky, isn't it interesting? There are 8 characters in the Chad Gadya and there are 8 exiles. Now this is going to be very telling because we're going to want to know who's the Shochet and who's the Malach HaMaves. Because whoever is the Malach HaMaves, that's the last exile. Says Reb Chaim Kanievsky, the cat, we find many examples. The Babylonians, they cried out like cats. Bavel is the cat. The dog, Belshazzar. Belshazzar drank from the vessels of the temple like a dog. Comes the Persians, it says Koresh, hit people over the brain with a stick. Persia, Achashverosh. He was angry. Vachamato, ba'arabo, fire. Macedonia is like water. Alexander the Great, he comes to the Garden of Eden and they pour water on him. Yavan is an ox. Remember, in times of Chanukah, the Yavanim say, Kitvu lachem al keren hashor, ein lachem chelek b'elokei Yisrael. Right on the horn of an ox. And now we're up to the final 2 exiles, Eisav and Yishmael. Now, if I was writing a commentary on the Haggadah, I'll tell you what I would have said. I would have said, who's the Shochet? Well, who in the Tanakh was a Shochet? Avram brings the cow, Vayitein el Hanar. Rashi says, who's the Nar? Yishmael. To do what? To shech the animal. Yishmael is the Shochet. Ad Hayom, Yishmael does Shchita. By the way, do you see the power of Chinuch? Think about the power of chinuch. Avram Avinu calls on Yishmael to prepare the animal. What's he training him in? Rashi says, L'chancho b'mitzvot. Which mitzvot? Hachnasat orchim and shchita. Ve'ad hayom. Say what you want about our cousins. There are 2 mitzvot. They're mitzdayenin. Hachnasat orchim and shchita. Look at the power of chinuch. You think it's a small thing? You ask your son to help you out with a mitzvah one time? It will affect generations for hundreds of generations, forever and ever. That's the power of chinuch. And Malach HaMaves, I would have said, would be Eisav. Because my grandfather who saw Eichmann, he also saw the Malach HaMaves. He saw Dr. Mengele, the angel of death. The angel of death, I would have said, is Eisav. But that's not what Reb Chaim Kanievsky says. So I would have liked to say, living in America, we like to say America will be the last Golos. So it makes us feel more comfortable to say Yishmael is the Shochet and Eisav is the Malach HaMaves. And the truth is, if you look at the Medrash Shocher Tov says Yishmael, Edom, which to me sounds like Edom will stand last, like the opinion of Rav. But if you look in Rashi, Rashi says Edom v'Yishmael, which is the opinion of Rebbe and Rabbi Yochanan. So apparently it's not clear, but Reb Chaim Kanievsky says the Shochet is Eisav, the Malach HaMaves. Nobody is the Malach HaMaves like Yishmael. The truth is, they're both highly qualified for both positions. They're both qualified to be the Shochet, they're both qualified to be the Malach HaMaves. Says Reb Chaim Kanievsky, the Baal HaTurim in the opening of this coming week's Parsha supports the view that Yishmael stands last. The last words of this Parsha, Al Pnei Kol Echav Nafal. Talking about Yishmael, Yishmael will fall everywhere. What are the next words? Ve'ele Toldot Yitzchak. Says Baal HaTurim, when Yishmael falls in the end of days, then Az Yitzmach ben David. So that's what we're hoping for. We're hoping for that when the Gemara tells us there'll be 2 nations standing, we're hoping this doesn't mean, milchama, with sword, with nuclear weapon. By the way, there are those who learn that the world may be protected from nuclear weapons because of a very special tefillah. Abraham, he prayed that God should save the city of Sodom. God destroyed Sodom with gafris, with sulfur. And Abraham prayed, and from Abraham's prayer we learn out Tfilat Shacharit. But what was God's answer to his prayer? No, don't bother me again. Wow, what a beautiful source for tefillah. Abraham davened, and God said, not a chance. There are those who learn Abraham's tefillah worked because he prayed that God should save us from gafris v'melach sreifa kol arza, because he foresaw that what kind of weapons will be be'achrit hayamim, and the world is protected today from the tefillah that didn't work then, and halavai. We're hoping that when the Gemara says there'll be two nations standing in the end of days, there'll be two value systems. And which value system will be shown to be bereft, empty? Which one will go down first? We wish them both a speedy nefilah. But Bezrat Hashem, this is the time that really has to stir our hearts to be mitzapel Yeshua. When we say in the tefillah, ki lishuatcha ki vinu kol hayom, we're getting very close to the finish line. If we're really waiting, we have to beg Hashem. You know, Reb Chaim Kanievsky said, Gemara tells us, Tzion hi doresh ein la, no one seeks out Tzion, meklal debai drisha. From here we see we need to seek it out. Says Reb Chaim, what does it mean to seek it out? Drisha, Targum always translates esba, to demand. We have to say, Ribono Shel Olam, you told us. Ka'asher dibarta, you said it's going to happen. We need to really wait for it. We need to ask for it. We need that this final battle, we need to be done with it very quickly. B'shalom. And we shall be zocheh, harachaman, hu yishlach lanu, et Eliyahu hanavi. Vivaser lanu b'sarot tovot yeshuot v'nechamos v'shol bizocha to go komamiyut la'artzeinu b'mher v'yameinu. Amen.